Thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon for this session here in the Quickfire booth of Stone Remnants, a pile of opportunity. Also thanks to everybody who may be watching over the live stream through the Coverings website or Coverings app. I'm Mark Meriaux. I'm a staff member with the Natural Stone Institute, and I manage our accreditation program, and I also serve on our technical staff. If you're here to get some credits towards your AIA licensure, make sure you get scanned or sign in so you get the credit that you need for that. We're going to go through this quick. This is a 30-minute presentation. I've got about 20 minutes in here, so we're going to go through these slides very quickly. We're going to discuss some of the challenges presented by stone waste or remnants, how to create a plan for using those, and then we're going to go through a couple of case studies, some friends of mine I've talked to in the industry that have some successful way of dealing with those. First of all, stone comes from the earth, so we should be able to just put it right back, right? Maybe not if it's a manufactured material or reconstituted with some other products that aren't so environmentally friendly. So we're going to talk about some other ways to deal with that. And the way we're going to deal with that is probably from the way that I hope will be most profitable to you and to maybe generating the least income, but maximizing your profit and minimizing the waste that ends up in the landfill is our goal. ANSI and NSC 373, which is an initiative from the Natural Stone Council, is already in place for our quarry members in dealing with stone waste in the quarries. So these are the three rules that kind of highlight that practice. And number one is producing less waste, so optimizing use, exploiting the value of that waste, so getting the most ROI on the maximum product, and then managing the true waste properly. So we'll look at the same thing. I hope most of you are countertop guys that I'm talking to today, because this is what most of my slides are centered around. Some of it can be applied to some tile products and some non-stone products, but it costs a lot of money just to catalog and store remnants. This is a typical remnant yard. I've seen shops all over the country. It costs a lot of money to handle, catalog, and even to dispose of waste. So what I'd ask you to do first is in your shops, define what's useful to you. If you've got a maximum or minimum size that's even worth keeping, set that as a standard. And if it's smaller than this size, just get rid of it in one other way. You don't want to handle it multiple times. How are you going to store it or maintain it? I mean, you're taking up real estate on your property to store and maintain this possibly useless material, where you could have other inventory that could generate better income for you. How are you going to track and sell it? All these things go into the cost of handling that. And then you have to define what is truly waste and how to dispose of that. So first of all, we're going to look from, like I said, minimizing waste first. That rule number one from the NSC. One way to do that is by buying bulk, either containers or bundles, so you have larger quantities of similar or same material that you can use to match with remnants or offcuts from the previous slabs or previous slices. You want to maximize those cutting layouts. Here's one of the software-based cutting programs. Somebody's layout on this saw. So they have all of those pieces very tightly nested on that slab. There's nothing left but little thin rips of stone left. So if you have that type of machinery or that type of technology, it may be time to start thinking about investing in that just to help you with the layouts and minimizing that waste. Grouping similar jobs together with the same material color or same material. Cutting them at the same time, fitting those together with each other. And then upselling project add-ons. If you're just doing a kitchen and you haven't even talked about the vanity, but you've got a half a slab that's going to be left over, maybe now's the time to consider upsell. Maybe a discounted, just to use that piece, some incentive for both of you. You don't want to handle that leftover piece. There's a good potential for income, and you just cutting that and making a little bit of profit to get it out of your yard. You don't want to handle it again later on. And so now we'll define the forms of stone waste. We've got blocks or slabs, and blocks, I'm not talking about raw blocks out of the quarry. We're talking about just dimensional pieces of stone. Larger stone pieces in cobble. Then it gets smaller and smaller down to aggregate or gravel, and then down to the fines and the dust. So the biggest pieces down to the smallest pieces. And so for the blocks and slabs, we're going to find uses for the largest pieces first. Those are going to present you with the best opportunity for the most income. And then we'll go through how to go dispose of or work your way down through different strategies of working with the blocks and slab, the larger pieces, to maximize profit and then to get rid of them. There's a number of people here at the show today. I've got a couple of our member companies, Stone Trash, Remnant Swap, are available here. You can find those guys on the show floor, talk about their free listing services where you can list remnants and pieces of stone in your yard and other people can see and find them. You can use a software like Slab Cloud to create an inventory on your website to list them there. Network with local fabricators. Get to be friends with the guys in your town instead of enemies. You might need to borrow something from them or have an off-cut piece of something they cut last week that you need just one more quarter of a slab for. If you build those relationships, networking can pay off. You guys can help share in the profits with each other that way. And then if you actually find uses to use this leftover stone, you may be able to qualify for lead credits on projects if necessary. So working your way down, these are some of the methods I've talked to some members that have used for using some pre-cut stock. You've got a 3/4 of a slab or half a slab left over, but it's close to a standard vanity size, a 60 or 72-inch length vanity. So what they'll do is either have what they call spring cleaning specials or cash and carry, have a one price, everything in the yard, and plus fabrication. So you're still going to make your money on your fabrication or install services, but you get an attractive way to get that stuff moving or have an event based just to generate some buzz. The Artisan Group, which is a group, another professional group of members here, they do annual counters for a cause. So they use it as a fundraising. It's back to that event. They're generating a buzz to get people in there. Or you could offer a free ongoing whatever. That doesn't have to be a sink. It could be an upgraded edge, it can be a sink, but it's up to you. Whatever you can offer for free, it can be rolled into your pricing somewhere else, but just, again, generating that buzz, getting some mention, some activity. And then beyond that, I would recommend looking at opportunities to donate. Now these have been gone down quite a bit. If I've gone to Habitat or Goodwill stores in every city, they've been talked to already by fabricators. There's not a lot of need in those areas, but it's good just to make those contacts. Occasionally they'll come across a project and they'll need something. You may have something you could donate, you can write it off as a charitable donation in that instance. Another one I found useful, these are just some of the companies, I'm not endorsing anybody here, but some of the companies I found from a quick web search, some of the builder surplus or product surplus outlet type facilities. Some of them bring in either blanks or pre-cuts, but they may be an opportunity there for you to do a pre-cut size or a blank program locally with someone like that if they have that foot traffic coming in and can move something. Concerns you have with getting rid of some of these bigger pieces are going to be the amount of sales time involved for your salespeople to communicate and to close a deal. You don't want them spending hours and hours selling one small little vanity when they could be selling, 2 or 3 kitchens. But if it's an add-on to a project, that's a perfect opportunity to move that extra stone before it ends up on your yard. If you're dealing with these remnant swap companies, shipping and freight can be a challenge. So I was at a company I worked with prior to joining the Institute. We did ship pieces nationwide, and crating and shipping is a major concern. It can cost as much or sometimes more than the piece of stone. So that's why I suggested you get to know your local buddies or your guys in your town. Become friendly with them. Next down the list, from biggest to small, are some of the what we call pavers, flagstone, flooring type pieces. These are some opportunities you can do with some smaller pieces of stone. I'll show some pictures of those. We have an article on Use Natural Stone that discusses some of these strategies here. So I got these photos from Greenstone, which is a company local to me outside of the Atlanta area, where he has a stamping machine and he stamps out regular shapes and markets them for a number of different uses. For pavers, they can be used wild shapes. I don't know your taste. We had a bunch of designers in here just in the previous session. I don't think they would find this highly attractive, but it's certainly an opportunity that's available to be used as leftover or mismatched floor pieces. I've seen a number of these done by friends and family that are done tastefully and actually fit well. So I talked about the stamping machines. Here's one from one of our companies on the floor today, Grand Quartz, that has different dies so you can make different shapes to cut these. They can be used for fireplace surrounds, flooring pieces, herringbone. They can be set for patios. Getting a little bit smaller, this other splitter, the Tomahawk splitter from Braxton Bragg, another company, will actually shear off smaller, thinner strips, so it chips off lengthwise. And these are some of the different types of installation applications that I've seen those used on: fireplace surrounds, feature walls, even exterior and exterior bars, patio bars. One of the suggestions here, and you'll see this again later on, is recommended to try and sort the colors, pre-sort the colors, so you have dark with dark or light with light, or have a mix option. Then you have an actual something that's marketable. You say we've got the light or the gold tones or dark. Have something that's more marketable than just a mishmash of different colors and stones. If you've got a CNC or water jet, you can look at punching out tabletops, or trivets or lazy Susans, whatever you have the capability or time to invest in. These are just some options you can look at. Gift items. This is another friend of mine. I'll talk about him in a minute. These are little lazy Susans he makes, but he puts the services insignias on them. Does really well. All kinds of different trinkets and trivets and pieces and shapes. I've got member companies I've talked to. You see that Fleur de Lis. He has a water jet. He's a Christian-based company, so he cuts out a cross and hands that to customers where they would appreciate that. It's however you want to make yourself memorable with your customers. If you can create something that just reinforces your company or your brand, it's even better. More little tabletops, trivets. Sam's my buddy I'm going to talk about. So he's worked in the stone industry for different countertop fabricators over the years. He's got at least two or three shops in his areas he's very friendly with. They give him all the remnants he can carry away in his truck. Usually small sink cutouts and smaller. He makes products like you see on these slides here at the bottom. And he works them on an old potter's wheel out in his shed. So he spins that around and makes circular pieces by hand. He's an artistic guy, and he enjoys coming up with those ideas. One thing I've heard recommended over and over from multiple people I've talked to is sell the products. Don't install these smaller pieces. As soon as you load them onto your truck, you're losing money. So you want to have these be a cash and carry type product. Make your money and see out the door. Put together some displays. Put them out. Display them around your showroom. Promote the fact that you're recycling or reusing these. And find your own Sam, my buddy Sam. They're not everywhere, and there's not enough of him, but if you can find someone like that wants to use that or can create something from it, it's worth it just to have him take all that he can. Concerns with working with the larger stone products we just covered are, again, equipment costs. If you're going to buy one of those stamper machines, you've got to hook them up and have somebody man them. So you've got labor and utilities involved. Marketing, sales, all these things cost money. You've got to weigh the pluses and minuses. And there's not enough Sams in the world for everybody to have one at your shop. Crushed stone aggregate is getting a little bit further, so it can be crushed down even further, used as gravel road surfacing, decorative landscaping, or construction fill. Next slide's a short video of this machine in operation. I think it's about a minute. Should play. Well, maybe not attached in there. It's just a brief video of this running, and that's fine. But the key points I wanted to point out with this machine is the friend of mine who operates this, he said a container, that output container there that the gravel's falling into, he said a similar sized rough container of the waste, just the offcuts, ends up nearly filling. There's very little change in volume. So the same size waste that feeds in there, but this has a in-feed hopper that vibrates. So he just has an employee load that, and that runs on its own. So it vibrates, it works the ways down into the jaws, which are in the middle where the big belt drive is, and it feeds them in there. He even has a small spray system of water involved to minimize some of the dust being produced from that operation to keep the silica controlled and in that area. But he happens to use it in his own yard because he's got a gravel yard, so he uses it for filling freeze-thaw. He has potholes and stuff all year long, so he has a use for it directly. If you have that need or that possibility, that's great. It may be then it may be worth the investment. Same thing as with the stamped pieces. For optimal marketability, if you're using it for landscape stone or have somewhere you can market that, try to sort it by color. It makes it much more marketable. Again, you've got the equipment cost. You got to buy a crusher. You got to hook it up to electricity. You got to pay somebody, even if it's not full time, to go there and load and unload the goods into and out of the machine. And then how are you going to sell crushed gravel or the crushed gravel? If you have somebody that'll haul it away in truckload or whatever, that's one option. And then get down to the stone dust or the fines that are collected. These are going to be primarily output from your water recycling system. So if you have a dehydration system, you collect all the sludge and slurry, run it through a dehydrator, and you can get it down dry enough to be as a fine. They can be used as setting bed material, or it's actually commercially sold as azomite, as a soil amendment. Again, we talked about we're working our way down from most profitable to least profitable. This one, there's not a lot of money left in the product at this point. So to even consider using the fines as a sellable material, you've got to have a pretty sizable operation to get to even realize some return on that. Same concerns. You're going to have the equipment cost, the labor to run and package, collect all of that, as well as how are you going to market it or sell it. My friend that ran the crusher, that small one in the photos, he said that he looked at dealing with landscape companies, and when he tried to make it as a sellable or marketable outside of his company, he was pursuant to some additional regulations from MSHA, which is the Mine Safety and Health Organization, in addition to normal OSHA regulations. So he just chose to use it as his own fill on his own property. Still have excess material. You can't sell it now. What are you going to do with it? Here I'm going to go in reverse. So least expensive, and this is cost to you, what's going to cost you the least versus what you're going to have to pay for the most to get rid of it. So partnering with a landfill or concrete company, use it on site like I just discussed on your own property as fill or as road surfacing. One way would be to buy your own dump truck to haul it off and dispose of it. And then the last and most costly, what most of us do probably, is have a landfill or a dumpster at your yard hauled off regularly. So if you have a concrete company nearby, it's worth picking up the phone at least to talk to them. They may supply a container. They may come pick it up and haul it for you. The offset, if you're doing a combination of other materials, they may accept stone only, may not allow any quartz or other products in there mixed in. Some don't care. I've heard of both. But at best, it's a zero cost to you. They haul it away. You can use it on your own site. The quarries are already doing this. The quarries use this as quarry road surfacing material regularly. If you have enough waste, it may be worth looking into getting your own dump vehicle at least and paying your own guys to haul that on a regular basis. Just weigh the options. If you're paying that much in dumpster fees or waste fees on a regular basis, you can dump it at these different places, at the concrete plants, at the landfill. They may not be willing to put a dumpster or come collect it at your shop, but they may be willing to accept it if you deliver it to them. And then lastly would be the landfill where you pay by tonnage or by weight. And then the last, of course, is disposing of it by I know the 30 yards and 40 yards over there on the right are how most people probably dispose or have on their yards. I had issues with that because they'd send the truck out to pick it up, and it was more weight than the truck could even handle. So it ended up being more economical for me to use a 1 yard or a half yard container and have it picked up multiple times a week. That way their trucks could lift it. They came more often, but it was actually less money for us, cost-wise. I know we went fast through a lot of that. Like I said, this presentation, I'm not positive if Coverings is going to make that available through the app or online. I can get you a PDF copy if any of you are interested in talking with me. We also have a webinar version of this already on our website that's available to Natural Stone Institute members for free and everyone else for a small fee. Thanks for coming out today.